Because we do get along.
We do, so far.
So far.
I haven't done anything to make you mad, have I?
Okay, I don't know what's going on with this. Yours says 100% complete, and it's just sitting there like that. And
So is
mine-
yours.
Here, we'll just get it on my phone. At least we'll have a backup. Where is my other phone?
You ready?
My board.
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's so little.
You ready?
I'm just gonna look in on my other phone.
I'll just look off. Dan. I'll just. It's okay.
Should we go? I hereby call this meeting to order and would like to thank the presenters we have tonight and anyone joining us either in person or by live stream. We thank you for being here. We'll start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance by A.J. Watson.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all of our board members are here except for Miss Heather Clark. She will be excused. And there are a couple of addendum materials which need to include supporting information on human resource activities, SRO, citation data, and fall athletics schedule. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addendum. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that we approve the agenda with the, as presented with the addendum.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, should have been discussion first. Okay, any opposed? That motion passed. Next on the agenda is approve the minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Regular board meeting of July 19th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda?
The minutes.
The minutes. Is that good enough?
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any
I'm sorry.
discussion?
Was that me?
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passed. Next on the agenda is approve the minutes. Whoops. Next on the agenda is approve the consent agenda, which includes authorization of payment of claims, approving the supplemental financial information, and approving the human resource activity as amended. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passed also.
And that's what this is that he's talking about, or we?
Okay, next on the agenda is written and public written comment on topics not pertinent to the agenda action. No written comment was received, and I have no request for public comments, so we will move on. The current Idaho General Fund Revenue Report is self-explanatory, is included in the public information. And next we will have Ms. Courtney Fisher will provide the media report and community relations update.
Okay. Good evening, board
Good evening.
members, Dr. Howell, Ms. Johnson. Since July's media report was rolled over, I've included in, I'll be emailing it to you, all of the media links from the last 2 months. Some of those articles and links of articles of interest to you. Some of those headlines includes Idaho is poised for another record state budget surplus. The CDC just released no quarantines and less testing and isolation periods. Talking about Idaho's student spending rankings and how we can improve those. The Reclaim Idaho initiative is going to be on the ballot, and so that has gotten a lot of attention in the media. And then, of course, this is a reminder to our parents as well, but the application for the free and reduced lunch applications are currently being accepted. That's very important because lunches meal and breakfast will not be free of charge. So those applications are going to be essential for the families that need them. So we're really trying to push that information out. I'm just going to roll right into one more thing, and then I'm the next two topics, so I'll just keep going if that's okay.
Perfect, sounds good.
As far as community relations, we have our back-to-school kickoff meeting, our all-district staff meeting tomorrow. We have been busy in preparation for that meeting, and we're really excited to welcome all staff up to the Portneuf Wellness Complex tomorrow, beginning at 8 a.m. We will be serving breakfast, and that's courtesy of the Pocatello Chubbuck Chamber of Commerce, and their education committee has been partnering with us to put this on, reaching out to sponsors to sponsor the breakfast. And so they're providing breakfast from McDonald's for all of our staff members. We will be giving all of the staff members, with your help, I believe, a t-shirt upon their arrival. And then we will do our back to school meeting with a take flight theme. And so we're really excited about that. We have great community support. Just want to tell you a little bit about those, including the Chamber of Commerce. Lookout Credit Union is a premier sponsor, Idaho State University College of Education, the Chamber Foundation, Kasiska Division of College Health Sciences, College of Pharmacy, Just for Kids Urgent Care, City of Pocatello, Mountain America Credit Union, and the United Way of Southeastern Idaho. And then, of course, we have our t-shirt sponsors, which we would not have been able to do such nice t-shirts without a little bit of financial help. And so those sponsors are, again, Lookout Credit Union was the premier sponsor, Portneuf Medical Center, Idaho Central Credit Union, Herning Auto Group, Idaho State University College of Education, McDonald's, Teton Auto Group, and School District 25 Education Foundation. We have tremendous community support, so I want to make sure that you are aware of that as well. With regard to the website, we have launched our website. I shared with you a link to how to use the new website, which has been received really well, just kind of giving people the nuts and bolts to find information really quickly. The analytics are telling me that it is being very well received, and I can tell by the difference in the top 10 sites visited as compared to our old website, that people are getting the data that they need and the information at their fingertips. So I'm actually really excited. Today's the first chance I've had to look at that in preparation for my report, and I was really, really pleasantly surprised. So over the last, just to give you an idea, the last 28 days, we had 43,000 users, which is pretty typical. Last time this year, it was 36,000 users and 63,000 sessions. Our mobile usage went up to 71%, and it's usually right around 63, so that has increased also. We have a much more mobile-friendly website right now, so I'm really excited about that. And then this is the one that really excited me. We've had 127,000, almost 128,000 page views, which this time last year we had 36,000 unique page views. So that is telling me that people are finding information that they need to send their kids back to school. Those top 10 are home, of course, district calendar. We made our district calendar much more accessible to people to find immediately when that is the number one thing that people call about for our assistance out in the front. Our back to school FAQs, our human resources, school supplies, that's another one, especially this time of year. That's really important. And then elementary education and secondary education, which is interesting to me because we didn't have those pages in the past. So that tells me, based on where they rose in the top 10, that was information that people were seeking. And then food service. And also the average time spent per page, which is really telling, has increased. Like it's doubled or tripled in some cases where people are spending 4 or 5 minutes on a page, which is really good. One more thing to update you quickly about the website is we are, I believe, in the final stages of our OCR investigation, which is the ADA compliance for our website. We've had some really positive meetings over the last several weeks, and we have been given reason to believe that will be coming to completion soon, which is great news, and it's also a testament to the efficacy of the new website platform. Moving on in your packet is the revised roadmap for the safe return to in-person instruction for the 22-23 school year. As you're aware, the state of Idaho Department of Education requires school districts to adopt a roadmap for the safe return to in-person instruction every year since COVID has been in play. Our district administration has reviewed the roadmap and made modifications. We wanted to simplify the plan this year. The most noticeable change is the formatting. We needed to reformat it so that it would be ADA compliant, so that we could put it up on our website. We are going to be entering a stage where we will not put PDFs up that aren't ADA compliant, and so we need to make sure that this one was, and it does meet that standard now. All of the categories remain the same, and the roadmap remains flexible, allowing the district to make adjustments as needed depending on where we're at and what our current circumstances or emerging circumstances are. And then the most significant content change is the reflection of the new CDC guidelines for quarantine and isolation. Those were announced on August 11th, and that new guidance does not require people exposed to the virus to quarantine, and it also shortens the isolation period for individuals who are asymptomatic or whose symptoms diminish quickly. The revised roadmap is on tonight's agenda for action, and the next review will be scheduled for February's regular board meeting. And that is all I have for you.
That's it. Well, thank you. We appreciate
Thank you.
all that you have. Okay.
To approve it, or is it?
Next, we have curriculum and instruction, school safety and athletics, which will
First reading?
start with Amy Boy, who will report on the following: building leadership team, professional development update, policy 8203, graduation requirements, and second reading for adoption.
So, yeah, so
Good evening, board members.
first reading.
Things have been exciting around here. The last week was a really exciting week with new teachers being back, and there's nothing that makes me happier than the buzz of new teachers. And so we'll start with the 8th. August 8th was the day that our principals met with their building leadership teams. And they got to meet in their own buildings, and the feedback from that was really great. In the past, sometimes we've met out at a central location like Century, and they've gone to separate rooms, but they liked having their own resources, and they felt like it turned into extra time for them to really dig deep into a few things. So they were looking at data of their students, their student performances, their surveys, their engagement surveys. They really had time to dig deep into their data, and then they set some school improvement goals for their buildings and talked about their vision and their culture. And I think the big focus this year was primarily how can we take these long-term annual goals and stay focused on them throughout the year. So that was a real focus, I think, in all of the buildings. Like, what are we going to do to in like 90-day increments, and so that was the focus. And I think all the feedback that we received from principals and from BLT members was really positive. So I think that was a great experience. Also, and then on the 9th, that's the day we had new teachers back. So I'm shifting to PD now and professional development. And the first day we had 77 new teachers in this room, and Dr. Howell talked about teacher credibility, and Kathy Lewis and I spent some time on curriculum and instruction and visible learning and relationships. And then Tanya Wilkes talked about, she did some trauma-informed instruction, and the feedback from that was really good also. There was a teacher from a different district who announced by the time they got done with that, and then they did some technology training and some classroom management training from our instructional coaches. By the time they got done with all of that, someone from another district was like, this is the best preschool professional development we've ever had, and I've been in a lot of districts. So that was really good feedback. I think we've got a lot to be proud of, and we're focused, and we've got people doing a good job with professional development. And finally, tonight, we received no input on policy 8203, the revisions for graduation requirements that we discussed last time. So that, just to quickly review the proposed changes. First, we were going to eliminate the college entrance exams. That's at the state level. The final of the second proposed change is that students will not be required to take 2 of their 8 math credits during their last years of high school. That also followed the state requirements. And then the final one was with the English. If they're taking advanced English in their junior year, they could get away with taking 1 English credit their senior year. And that's limited in scope, and we'll definitely encourage students to be taking as much math and English as they can, but it helps us do few students out in flexibility. So that'll be it for second reading for adoption tonight. And that's all I have for you. Thanks.
Thank you, very appreciate it. Okay, next we have Mr. A.J. Watson, who will report on the following: Head Start program update, elementary enrollment program, and staffing update.
Good evening, board members. I'll start with the Head Start update. The Head Start program currently has 97 students enrolled for the upcoming year. As for staffing and personnel, they have 23 positions they are still working to fill. This includes both instructional and support staff. They have applicants for some positions and are in the process of trying to fill as many openings as possible before school begins. And the Head Start program is still operating under the interim final rule federal regulation that requires staff to be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 and all adults and children required to be masked while providing and receiving Head Start services. There's not been a date set for when the final rule regarding this federal requirement will be made. This rule does create a challenge for filling positions at the Head Start programs. Not only our programs, but all Head Start programs are struggling with this. The first day of school for full day preschool learners is August 22nd. Part day learners will start on August 30th based on staffing. Progress continues on the new modular units that were installed this summer. The current timeline for completion is planned for September 6th. Full day classrooms will start in the main building on the 22nd and transition to the new modules when complete. The second item, elementary enrollment. Our current elementary enrollment number is 5,181 learners in grades kindergarten through 5th. This is an increase of 81 learners from the same date last year. We completed the elementary overload and transfer meeting last week. We ended up with 13 overloads from 2 different schools. The overloads were placed in sister schools with available classroom space. The numbers that you have are preliminary numbers, and there will definitely continue to be changes over the next week as we prepare for the beginning of school on Tuesday. And that concludes the elementary
I have a
report.
question.
Yes.
So on the Head Start, there was 97, and I noticed that there was over 100 that were still, is 97 the limit that you can take?
No, they can take more, and they're currently going through and accepting more applicants, and I think they're waiting for staffing as well to determine
see.
how many they can take. So that will be a determining factor as well.
Okay.
How's that staffing going then?
It's based on some of the requirements that they have. It's been a struggle to fill those
Really?
positions, and they usually are a little bit later because they tend to pick up in August. You know, some of the teachers and instructional staff that don't get picked up by the school district, so they are a little bit later. But it's a struggle over there to fill those positions right now. They're having a difficult time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Ms. Supetta, report on the following: secondary enrollment program and staffing update, CTE school name change request.
Okay, you have information about the secondary enrollment and what's going on with that. That bubble that was coming through the elementary schools into the middle schools the last couple of years is now in the high schools. So we're packed. We've actually hired a few extra teachers for Pocatello High School because it's been packed. And we had several transfer requests to go to different places, and those have all been dealt with. And now we have a few guardianship people that are changing guardianships going on. So it looks like we're going to be good to go. Pocatello High School has one position, I believe, left to fill. They had hired somebody on Friday, and he came in, got all ready to go, and then got offered a job in Idaho Falls, so he left, and so they're working on fixing that. So, and I think that's the only teaching position. We have about 10 paras that need to be hired for secondary, and we're good to go that way. The CTE school name change, this is something that we were going to actually ask you to do earlier, but we can't officially change it for the state until June, but we'd like to start calling it a new name. And right now it's called Gateway Career Technical Academy. The problem is we also have a Gateway Professional Center, and we have a Gate City Elementary School, so it's just getting confusing. What we would very much like to change the name to is Portneuf Valley Career Technical Academy, and it would be abbreviated PV Tech. So, and that's what I'm going to propose today. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, next, Ms. Tanya Wilkes will report on the following: annual student discipline SRO citation data for 21-22 year. and annual extracurricular and participation fee report, and fall athletic schedule and annual travel request.
All right. Well, members of the board, first of all, thank you very much for having me to be here today. I have to tell you, as a school resource officer, this is my 3rd year being with the schools, and is hands down the best job in the entire department. I'm going to make some of these guys blush. You have some excellent, excellent people. 2 of them are in the stands right here. They've gone to a bigger but not better place, but it is a pleasure working with these guys. And I got to call these people out. I don't know if they're watching on the stream or not, but my principal's over at Hawthorne, Dr. Kessler, and I'm getting to know Ms. Greco. She's new this year. Mr. Vaughn, Crystal Locke here, they are absolutely the best. Not only do they care about the kids, they take the safety seriously. We work hand in hand and have an excellent working relationship. Being an SRO, sometimes you feel like an outsider. At these schools, every time I go there, I feel like family. It starts from the top all the way down from your teachers. Everybody there, they work really well, and I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. They do an excellent job for the school representing you guys, and they provide a tremendous service to our kids. Now, I was asked to talk a little bit about the school resource officer stats. All of you guys should have them. I'm going to go kind of quickly. If there's a question you have in some area, again, you can see the numbers right there. Everything's broken down. You have all the schools there on the left-hand side. The first box there is you see charges and arrests. These are actual criminal charges that have happened in each of the individual schools. It probably corresponds with that far right one. You can see the student populations on the other side. The next one where it says reports or original LIs, that stands for law incident. That's where we've done a police report. It could be anything from a parking problem to a welfare check, missing kid, problem in the classroom, anytime we've had to do a police report on there. Follow up on patrol calls. If there's a situation that involves a student outside of school and the officer has to leave the school to deal with it, you're looking at those numbers right there. Traffic citations, we don't do a lot of traffic as school resource officers. I get asked a lot, well, why aren't you writing tickets for speeders? That's our traffic division. When school starts and they're in the cafeteria eating breakfast, that's where I'm going to be. That's our position there. Truancy cases, if a child's not attending school and everything the school's doing doesn't work and they refer it to us, you're looking at those numbers as well. Home visits, when officers are leaving the school to check on a kid at home. Diversion. Training hours, those are hours outside the school that if we're specialized in different things such as SWAT team and other specialized things that we have. The other one is where, again, if we have to leave the school and assist a patrol officer. Here's a big one right here. Presentations that we do, if we're invited to be a special guest where we're talking about the job, do a careers class, or we're helping out with health class, talking or doing a presentation, an assembly for the school, you can see those hours there. I'm going to jump over to the emergency drills. That's not the drills that happen, that's just the ones that we assist with. DARE classes, we have a dedicated DARE officer whose job is to go into the elementary schools and actually teach a class on drug education. You're seeing after-school events. If we're helping out with security for a basketball or a football game, you're seeing those numbers there. Where we're helping with youth court, if we have a parent conference to try to assist a student. You can kind of see those numbers right there in the schools that they're associated with. As you can see, we were extremely busy. It was a pretty challenging year with COVID. It kind of hit us well as well. But having those good relationships that I've talked to before, really pulled us through. So I went kind of quick. Is there anything you'd like to add? Did I miss anything on there? Okay.
We appreciate our,
Over there, because it's easier to sit and stand.
we do
You're
appreciate
too tough.
you officers in our schools.
Yeah, and he actually is one of our coaches in our schools too, so
Oh, cool.
we don't let him get away with anything. All right, the other report is our discipline report, and then we have the next thing on my list of things to share out is extracurricular participation fees. If you notice, we're pretty par from 2020, 2021 year. This year, we did have quite a collection fee at one of the high schools, Pocatello High School. Over the summer, they've been working pretty hard to gather those. It's been a difficult year for some students, so we were pretty graceful. We do not hand out diplomas or anything like that until those fees are paid for. Does anybody have any questions? And I think the final thing that you'll have listed there, we got cheer on there a little bit late for a couple schools, but is the high school and the middle school activities and athletics programs, events. Any questions?
in regards to our sporting events.
Looks good.
No, I did get a chance to go over and see the new field over here to look at.
Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, they let me walk out on the track and walk over the field. It's gonna be awesome.
Somebody thought that they actually painted the field, and truly it's unique that they put the green turf down and they cut out
Right.
each individual piece for
Right.
every hash, every line,
Yeah.
every logo, so it's
Yeah.
pretty,
Yeah, it looks good, though.
yeah,
It
it's really
does.
good.
Yeah,
Pretty
they
excited.
actually let me walk right out on the field. I thought it was pretty cool. So it was kind of
I
funny. to
like
go there.
the new bleachers that have ramps up them. I saw
Yep.
that.
Thank you, on both sides, yes, and extended, so we have enough to fill the whole Pocatello High School and Century High School student body, so it'll be nice.
Cool. So is the concession stand, when is it going to be done, do you know?
Again, like last year, we're waiting on the trusses for the roofing. We do
Okay.
have an order in, though, and we do have a date in September that they'll be delivered, so I'm hoping end of October, we'll have it up and running. We might hit maybe the last game, but we do have alternative food trucks. We have a team room with the modules outside of Hawthorne that we're going to utilize.
Okay,
And so we do have a backup plan for
cool.
the time being, but it's coming together pretty quick.
Yeah.
And the video board and logo's up there, so we're getting power to it and see if we can get everything going.
Cool. That was looking good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is business operations presented by Jonathan Balls. Talking about food service for the summer program, summer projects update, surplus property auction, bid awards, policy 5304, policy 8603, sorry.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time this evening. Just a couple items for us. Last Friday was our last day of summer feed. We appreciate Tom Wilson, our food service coordinator, and his great crew that served, as you see, right, 81,000 lunches over these several weeks. Again, these some charts in your packet there looks at the weekday comparisons overall. You'll see the midweek is normally the highest for us there. And you'll see the meals served by week. Again, we have the most meals served at the beginning, obviously, and then vacations and different things come into play there. The next one is by park. You'll see the most popular park, Stewart, Lower Ross Park, Caldwell Park. But yet they all serve, quite a few meals. And then lastly is the meals served by year. And so you can see the 81,513 is fairly typical, other than that COVID year, the last, 6 or 7 years. So again, we'd like to extend our appreciation to Mr. Wilson and all of his great helpers there that do such a great job and provide these meals to our learners and to our community throughout the community there. Next is a brief update on summer projects. You've heard a little bit about the Lincoln modulars that are really close, the Hawthorne project over there. If I could just highlight a few things, I appreciate Alan Spidell and his maintenance crew. They are feverishly sprinting to the finish line. For them, the finish is the start of school. To get everything up and ready for school. And so we appreciate everything that they're doing and have done over these last several weeks. The inside of both Washington and Tendoy have been painted. Transportation department in the back here has some new fuel tanks. As you remember, there was a necessity that we had to replace those tanks, and so we've been having to fuel the maintenance trucks and finish the year fueling those off-site, so that'll save us a lot of time and money to have these fuel tanks here. I'll report that the HVAC 75 HVAC units have been successfully replaced at Pocatello High School. Jefferson Elementary has brand new lighting fixtures. And these are the LED, state-of-the-art. We anticipate a rebate from Idaho Power because of that work done, that it'll help recoup some of those costs there. Again, you talked about the turf field there at Hawthorne. And there's all sorts of roofing. Almost all the roofing is done. Sidewalks have been raised. We found a great vendor. Rather than replacing a sidewalk, they'll actually come and lift the sidewalk to alleviate and make that level, make it less of a tripping hazard. So we're really excited about that. I do want to identify just two schools that will. Before I do that, another great thing at Irving, new bleachers at Irving started today, and they will be done by the end of the week.
Is that on the west side?
This is in the gym.
Oh, in the
Interior.
gym. Oh, okay.
This is interior, so
Okay.
it's one of our most popular schools to be used by Parks and Rec, and so a lot of people use these bleachers, and so we're excited to
No, cool.
have that available. Again, just two small impacts to school, but one is we're still waiting for the Highland welding exhaust parts. That was a supply chain issue, but again, we can still have class and so forth. It's what we've kind of previously done, and as soon as the vendor gets the parts there, they will install them with minimal impact there. And then lastly, over at Alameda, we got really close to finishing the upstairs bathrooms. If you remember last year, we replaced and refinished the downstairs. We're still waiting on these panels, and they've shipped. We're just waiting for those panels to arrive, and the privacy panels, and then we'll get those installed. They will probably won't be ready by school, but then they'll just have to go in the downstairs restroom. And they've been aware, the administrators there know about that. And so, again, we'll do a much greater detail of these summer projects, I think October, September? I can't remember which month we'll do that. We'll have pictures, one or the other, October probably. We'll have pictures and a lot of before and after shots to share there. The next in your packet is the auction results. Again, this is for equipment, materials that are deemed obsolete, and so we send them. Again, the law says that we have to offer them back to the public because they were bought with public funds, and so we do that through Primetime Auctions. We had an on-site auction, and then it continued on with online. You can see that the proceeds from that was a little over $31,000, and that was up about $6,200 from last year. And so wanted to, this is an annual event that we do.
So where does that money go?
So, good question. For right now, it goes back into the 100 fund to help to buy more equipment and newer equipment
okay.
and so forth.
Perfect. Just curious.
Mr. Balls.
Yes, please.
100 fund, general fund.
Oh, for general fund, forgive me. Yeah, I'm numbers.
All numbers, right?
Yeah, the 100 fund is the general fund. Yep, in the general fund. Thank you, Dr. Ho. Okay, this next one is we had 2 bid openings this last month. This first one was for some custodial services, and we labeled it various district locations, but basically it is the evening custodial at our secondary schools. So 3 high schools, 4 middle schools. And so again, we sent bids out and received a nice offering back, several bids. 2 were disqualified. One was unfortunately received late, and the other ones didn't comply with the bid specifications. You can see the remaining vendors there. Again, we did it by terms because we felt with our current contract that October 1st would be best there, and then we took it through the rest of this fiscal year, and then the next 2 terms would be fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25. You can see the amounts there from the four vendors. You'll see that a local company, Night Owl Janitorial, is the recommended bid winner, if you will, and that this is an action item that you'll have tonight that we ask to award the custodial services to Night Owl Janitorial, starting October 1st for the next 2.5 years.
So we don't have our own janitors at night?
So we do during the day.
Right.
We call them building techs. We have them during the day. This is to help us clean at night.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, the next one is is the baseball field renovation up at Highland High School. You'll remember this was, started with a generous donation from Westmark Credit Union of $250,000. And we knew that the budget was gonna be an issue, so we kind of split it out in turf into different projects, or bid alternates is what we call them, and then different projects, just to see how far we could reach and still accomplish. Basically, our goal is to play a varsity game up there at Highland. We had 2 bidders come, locally, Final Cut Synthetic Turf, and then also Hellas Construction.
Are they
And
the ones that did doing the turf over here?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
So what about the parking there, if that's the goal for, to have the varsity game? Is
Yeah.
the parking okay for that?
Yes, the parking for baseball, yes, they would, I mean, it is a while there, and you'll see that project number 3 is, an ADA ramp that will take us from the upper parking lot down the sidewalk, and then be able to get onto the bleachers of that baseball field. So yes, the parking will be adequate there. So what we'd like to recommend is that just the bid alternate 1, which still provides a great deal amount of turf to basically the home plate, all the infield except for the grass, so you'd be able to run on turf and so forth. And then that still has, if you read down in the requested action there, we've sought locally to provide, okay, what's the minimal fencing we can do? We obviously need the ADA sidewalk, and then also obviously the backstop. And so we're recommending just going with Final Cut, and then we will outsource internally and finding quotes and bids to finish those project 2, 3, and 4. And we anticipate with a budget that should not exceed $150,000 from the district's future projects fund, to do that. And we feel that should be able to get our Highland baseball team to be able to play in this facility there.
Let me just take this and figure it out.
So again, the board, we request the board just to approve the Final Cut synthetic turf to be awarded that bid alternate number 1.
Is their turf as good as the other one?
It is. It's different because obviously you're with the football over here. You're getting smashed.
Mhm.
You're not smashed. Tackled into the. Tackled into that turf. So there is going to be more cushion
Oh.
on this one over here, whereas with baseball it doesn't need quite that. So there is some differences there.
Okay.
But yes, it's very adequate. It'll be great.
Good.
So. Okay, the next is 2 different policies. One is related to food service, and there's a lot of green is what we keep, red is what we kind of take out. If a lot of the changes here to our school food service program policy is really just a little cleanup, and also to create a policy regarding the unpaid meal charges. And so that's the second document there, that we'd like to still have the policy, but then have that unpaid meal charges as its own policy, and that way we. Oh, I said policy, didn't I? Forget, thank you. Why, yes. No, I'm sorry, I would have maybe, third time maybe. Forgive me, it's a procedure that has this unpaid meal charge in there. And what that amount is, it's in the kind of the third paragraph there. It was previously at $11, but we feel just charging meals this first year, we feel we need to give a little bit more cushion there. Again, our staff will still follow the same policies and procedures in collecting that, but we're asking the board that they move that 11 to $20.60, and that equals 2 meals a day for 4 days. And then we will monitor that very closely, and then we anticipate that eventually will go back down. tighten back up a little bit.
And no supplemental sandwiches for people, huh?
We do our very best to provide, a meal to our learners. But yet that's what this would do there.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was a change, wasn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah,
Because in the past, if kids didn't have lunch, they could get a sandwich or something from.
correct. And I think, I'll phone a
Is that
friend.
right?
So yes, I think that is, yeah, thank you, from
So
the
at the elementary
elementary.
level, we do, yes. It's hard when they don't have, we don't want to tell an elementary kid they can't have something to eat. So we do provide granola bars and cheese sticks so
Yeah.
that they get something, and we just don't tell them, no, you don't get
Right.
any food, because no one wants to do that. So we do
Yeah.
provide them with something
Yeah.
when they can't get the lunch. And then we're always following up and contacting parents and making sure it gets taken care of. So it's not an issue moving forward. Thanks.
Thanks, AJ. I knew straight from experience there. So, and again, that's for first reading. So, and so it'll be finalized next board meeting, but we'd kind of like to still, operate under these premises and then be finalized next month. The last policy I have in front of you is for bus transportation. There's 3 main purposes for these changes. The first, the red and green section, is basically dealing with notes. And we'd like to tighten up the occurrences of using notes. Sometimes our buses are used for taxi services, or Uber services, probably more appropriate. To parties, group things, visiting friends and so forth. And that's what we'd like to try to get away from. So we say, in the green there, that really you're only supposed to use the bus to go to your assigned stop and, for pickup and go. And if that needs to always be to a relative, then that's fine as well. But we did, as we got feedback, worked with the elementary and secondary principals. We needed some emergencies because we know emergency happens. And anyway, that's that clause there that they can, with a verbal or written permission from the parent, along with the building administrator or his or her designee can allow that student to change route in the amount of emergencies. But again, that's emergency situation only, not just because for convenience. In that
So
regard.
how do you police that? I mean, does the bus driver know which kids get off? There's not a,
So what the procedure internally, there'll be a form that the building level will fill out
Right.
to say that Johnny can now ride this bus and get off at this stop.
right, but how does the bus driver know that Johnny was supposed to get off at this stop, or maybe gets off at another one?
So and that's difficult. You're absolutely right. That's where the bus driver will just know their students,
Get to
know their riders,
Right.
get to know them as fast as they can.
Okay.
And again, that form will even have the note from the parent stapled to it. But if they get that form, then the driver will take them to that stop. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, but that's just stops that he normally makes on his route, right?
That is correct. So if it's on a different bus, then again, that's where they would work with transportation, and we have routes, it's online as well, which route they would know. And I think a lot of the parents know, okay, we need to drive bus number 36 now and get off at this stop at, grandma's house.
Right,
Okay?
thank you.
So are you
yes.
saying, so this policy really just makes it so, if a parent is at work and have to work late and they can't call the school and just ask for them to ride home with a friend, or,
So if that's an emergency situation,
well, it may
Yeah,
not be an emergency, but,
well, obviously, safety of our learners is paramount, right? That's the primary reason we transport the bus. And so in that case, if a parent gets stuck and no one's home, well, obviously, we don't want to leave a first grader at home by him or herself. And so I would deem that an emergency. They need to still call and so forth.
and so it'd just be a call from the parent?
Call from the parent to the building and say, I need to allow my student to ride, okay? And they'll fill out a form and give it to the bus driver.
Okay.
It's-
So in the case of, I would think that most parents work, I don't know the percentage.
Mm,
But a lot of times it's the only opportunity for kids to be able to socialize, to be able to go to a friend's and then be picked up after work, because the parents can't take them, they can't leave work to go take them.
Yeah, and there, again, there's that fine line.
So,
Fine line then there. Again, we're not a taxi service. And so I know socialization, definitely is important, but I think they get that more at school. It's just, I mean, literally, I've heard
well, not
horror
additional
stories.
stops, but
They can't find a kid, and our great transportation team in the back they're checking cameras at 9:30 at night, trying to find this kid, just because, there was some miscommunication on the bus. And so we're just trying to alleviate that, get them home, and then they can go socialize wherever they would like. The other part is that, sometimes we say, okay, let's go have a birthday party, and the bus is full with regular riders, and here comes the 10 kids to go to the birthday party. And the bus is full. I mean, that puts the bus driver in a very awkward situation and just not safe.
Right.
And so we're asking.
so does that happen a lot? I haven't heard of it being.
On
that
occasion,
full.
I wouldn't say a lot,
Okay.
right? I mean, birthdays happen once a year, but, so. And then lastly, if we could flip the page, last change to this policy is with cell phones. The prior policy was basically, you can't use your cell phone at all, and that was just not an enforceable policy. And so we talked, again, with transportation and with AJ and Sue, okay, what do we need there? And again, it was just the vocal amount or the voice that would distract the driver. That's the biggest concern. Again, it's back to safety. And so what this says is you can use your device. If it's on silent, you can text. Obviously, we don't want passing and sharing around because sometimes that's inappropriate images, or obviously no photographs. We tie that's the same language in your electronic device policy there. But we just feel that this clarification just helps, be able to enforce something that's enforceable on the bus. And so those are the 3 changes for first reading for this transportation policy. Okay, that's all I have.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, next we'll have employee services presented by Carl Smart. And by infant campus and policy 7605.
Okay, our little update that we have every month, just to let you know, we're in the middle of creating an IC submission for summer school, and we have a couple more weeks to make it happen, so we will have that done in the appropriate time frame. I'm talking with the technology folks. They feel very confident at the beginning, or for the beginning of the school year. They're rostering. When we talk about rostering, it means putting all the student data in the different applications that are out there, whether it be special ed or for any sort of software that takes a name and associates a name with a teacher. So all that rostering he says has pretty much been done. They feel very comfortable about the beginning of the school year. Technology's also updated their BYOD, or bring your own device, make it a little easier for folks that have their own device, say a tablet or a phone, that they can get on the network and do their work or their searches through that. So they've improved that ability and made it a little easier. And I don't know if it'd be appropriate, Doug, do you want me to talk about insurance or not? Nope. Not okay. So, second thing on my section of the agenda tonight is fringe benefits. This is policy 7605, and it is basically just 2 changes. For I don't know how many years we have had this in policy, but for a new classified employee coming in and starting a job, they have to wait 7 months before they get any sort of personal leave, which is an awful long time, especially if you come, say, in March or April. That 7 months will spread out till December of the next year because of the way that we skip summer. And as we all know, hiring is kind of difficult right now. So we're hoping that maybe this would improve our hiring practices as well. And just like in the old policy where it says 7 months, 3 months, it'll still be prorated appropriately, so they don't get the full number of days right off the bat. So we are asking to have that read as a first reading and under the action item tonight. And with that, that concludes my report tonight.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Ms. Brenda Miner, from Human Resources. Hiring update, hiring reverts back to the board, and policy or proposes for 22-23.
Good evening. So you can tell me if I need to slow down. I'm so anxious for tomorrow and excited, I can hardly stand it, to be honest. So
You're doing
I'll
great.
try and keep it, where I'm not talking super fast. So I'll start with hiring. Just one of the things that's super exciting for us, and even when Sue was up here, and that's how quickly things move, is we've actually already hired that position at Pocatello High School. So that position is hired, and then the person that we hired for that position was a .5 position at Highland, had already been hired. And they were able to have him become full-time at Pocatello High School, and we've also already hired that .5 position at Highland. So we're moving. We are all hired except for 1.5 special education teacher at New Horizon, and that position just opened, and she's ready to do interviews as well for our certified staff. So I feel really good about that. We do have one opening, a preschool position at Tendoy, but that can also be a classified position as well. And then when we look at hiring for what we have left that is still our paras and our food service are the two big ones. In our para situation, we have 11 full-time in secondary and 2 part-time in secondary. And then in elementary, we have an 11 total, and 2 of those are full-time and 9 of those are part-time. So just to give you an idea about that, sometimes those positions, of course, were not looked at being hired during the summer, just because when they're not employed during the summer, it takes a little bit, they don't want to hire someone and then not have them be available. So those positions have actually been filling rather quickly. I was speaking with Mr. Watson just yesterday, and there was so many elementary positions, and what has happened to kind of help in those situations is just as parents are coming in and registering their kids, and some of those situations where people have ties to the school, we're able to have those positions filled rather quickly. And then as far as the 9 part-time positions that are still available in elementary, I'll be honest with you, I know it's been 3 years, but if it's something different, let me know. But sometimes those part-time positions will stay open for a little while, and we start to see where we need those, and then there starts to be people who pop up that maybe have been a reading aide or something along those lines that want a few more hours, and those part-time positions will be filled. And so in looking at that, our food service is the next positions we'll be able to run in transportation, our maintenance department. We filled those openings, but in food service we have about 20 openings. So I really commend Jonathan and Tom that they've been working and brainstorming different ideas as far as what that looks like. We have about 2 to 3 interviews that are set up for those positions. I know that some of the things that we're looking at is a referral process. If you guys remember, some of you that were on our board, just to kind of update you a little bit, we have a referral process that we've had in transportation. If they refer a friend and someone stays for a length of time, there's a $100 stipend for the person who referred them. We're looking at that for food service as well. We're making sure that there are signs out there. We're hopeful that the next piece where we'll find some people is the elementary schools, back to school nights, middle school, high school. They'll each have a station set up there just because of the fact that we need the free and reduced lunch forms as well, right? So we're hopeful that we can find some people in that respect. We've placed it on social media. And then just the fact that we need to really look at kind of brainstorming some other ideas. And I know there's nothing that's been formalized, but I know our new special education director has voiced some ideas about maybe some of our high-functioning students up at ISU, 18 to 21-year-old program, maybe being able to get into our schools and not just in some of the businesses that they go to. So that's a great idea. We also talked a little bit about, we have some of our bus drivers who were full-time because they had that midday kindergarten route, and so they're going to go into our schools and so that they can keep that full-time benefit. And they're going into our schools to work as a paraprofessional for a couple hours and looking at maybe that's something that we need to do as far as food service as well. So just brainstorming some of those ideas. I mean, there'll be things, I mean, it's really hard sometimes, the difficult choices, but maybe not as many choices in the lunch line. Those kinds of things are all things that we're discussing to make sure. Some schools have more openings than others that really make it difficult for them to be able to continue doing what they're doing. And so I can't give enough high praise for the work that our food service employees have done for us.
I didn't understand the high functioning, that one that you were talking about.
We have two really great programs that are up at ISU, our 18 to 21-year-old program, and we send some of those students out into businesses to work and get some work experience, and maybe some work experience for them would be to be in our schools. And so those are just a couple ideas, and just trying to, you know, maybe make sure that we look at everything. And it's kind of hard sometimes to look outside the box or to think of different ideas, but we're hopeful that some of those will bring some more people to our positions.
I love that.
And then just in the substitute hiring arena as well, we've had all of our subs in for the last day and a half. We've had 3 different meetings with the substitutes that we have had, and just some really great ideas that they've had. And also it looks like that we have upwards of 30 new subs that are looking to come in. So I'm hopeful that those are all good signs. And so I think that kind of covers it when I look at the hiring. And then the next piece is just, it seems like May 17th was just a few days ago, and it's already 3 months ago, and so I just want to thank you guys for letting us get all of the hiring done that we have. And so now that the hiring will go back to you, and we will make sure that we have those in the HR addendums for you, okay?
Perfect.
And then the last piece deals with the leadership proposals that we have talked about. You remember these used to come from the state level, and now we've changed that, and those have all been things that we've discussed through budgets. And I just wanted to kind of show you this updated version that gives all of the current ones that we have discussed. The only difference in there, if you take a quick look at the nurses, that a stipend for if we bring on maybe a part-time or a 3/4 time nurse, that they have a little bit of a stipend as well as the head nurse. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Superintendent Report, which will be presented by Dr. Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, of course, tonight, board meeting. Tomorrow, I could just tell you one more time about the all-staff meeting, but you heard it from a couple of our other staff, and I think you can sense their excitement for tomorrow, the anxiety just a little bit, because a number of us have some different parts in the presentation. And so I'll lead off with an overall address to our staff about being more together. And then we have some fun little skits and songs and things that will bring us back to the basics on our reset as we take flight for 2022-23. And so we anticipate maybe about an hour once the festivities are underway. Or the presentation, I should say, or the production. I have no idea. I asked earlier, and you said yes?
Hello.
Just gotta hold it up and yell. I don't know. Okay, so, so tomorrow morning, if you could arrive by 7:45, I sent an email today with some instructions for you. Wear your new t-shirt.
The blue one. Or,
This
yeah,
one here,
turquoise.
yep. That'll be for tomorrow morning, and like I said, I anticipate that about 9:45 or so is when we'll finish up and put all the staff back on buses and send them to school. Okay? All right, next up, tomorrow afternoon, we'll have student reinstatement hearings beginning at 2 o'clock. And we have about 4, I think originally we had 5 scheduled, hopefully our schedule, we had a a cancellation today, so hopefully Ms. Jensen was able to reschedule that, and we'll just go 2 to when we finish, but I anticipate a little bit earlier. And then Labor Day, September 5th, because we'll be back in school just on the 6th. Maybe we're gonna hold off on school visits until October, and then we'll get you into schools beginning of October. That's always exciting to do some of those visits. And so it's first Tuesday. And then September 13th, we have our first board work session, also that community prevention committee meeting. If you'd like to, if you're interested in attending, please let Ms. Johnson know. And then that takes us out to regular board meeting, 5:30 on September 20th.
So I missed the committee meeting? I'm sorry. Which committee meeting? Let Ms. Johnson know about which one?
Community prevention
Oh,
committee meeting.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so we
actually,
just
if you're
need-
interested in that, please maybe give Ms. Wilkes a call, and also with Renee, then we, can coordinate
Yeah.
schedules.
Can I just, is it still on Zoom, or is it,
So far as I know, it has been. I haven't seen any updates
Okay.
as to this.
can I just request to have the link every time, or do I need?
Yeah, just send me the email and I'll forward that link to you.
Oh, okay. But do I need to do that every time, or?
Yeah, just so that we know that there's not multiple,
Oh,
more than 2
I
board
see,
members.
I see. Okay, yes, okay.
Okay, and then one other item for me, Mr. Chairman, and that is, as you'll see here, a request, it's an annual request to use some different replicas of weapons in productions, track, and, so drama, Veterans Days assemblies, as well as Mountain Man assemblies of the schools. And so rather than contact you, if we could just have that exception granted, and that would all coordinate through the building principal, so we would be aware of any replica weapons in our buildings for those presentations. Again, we just ask for that on an annual basis at this time of year. And so that's it for me tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is public and written comment. We have not received any that I know of, so we'll now move on to action items. First item of business is to adopt the Pocatello Chubbuck School District 25 roadmap to the safe return to in-person instruction for the 22-23 school year.
I
Okay,
move that we
Ed.
adopt that
Thank you. Is there a second?
roadmap.
A second.
All in favor?
Discussion?
All discussion? Anybody have a discussion on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mhm.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Next on the is the business to hear a second reading for adoption of policy 8203, graduation requirements. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board hear on second reading for adoption the below listed policy as presented, policy 8203.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that motion also passed. Next item is business is approve the CTE school name change from Gateway Professional Technology Academy to the Portneuf Valley Career Technical School. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the CTE school name change from the Gateway Professional Technical Academy to Portneuf Valley Career Technical School as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Next on the business is to approve the fall athletic schedule inclusive of annual secondary travel for state and national competitions and college university tours. Is there a motion?
I hereby move the board approve the fall athletic schedule inclusive of annual secondary travel for state and national competitions and college university tours as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Next on the item is to award the following bids, custodial supply and the Highland High School baseball turf. Is there a motion?
Let's see. I hereby move that the board approve the oh no, that's the wrong one.
I'll do
Dang
it.
it.
I hereby move that the board award the below listed bids as presented, custodial and Highland High School baseball turf.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? That motion passed. Next on the item is to hear the following policy on first reading, policy 5304, school food service program. Excuse me. Policy 7605, fringe benefits, and policy 8603, bus transportation. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board hear on first reading the below listed policies as presented, policies 5304, 7605, 8603.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passed. Next item of business is to approve the 22-23 district leadership stipend. Is there a motion?
I hereby move the board approve the 2022-23 district leadership stipends as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. The final item of business is to grant permission to allow weapons replicas on school property for Veterans Day activities. Starter guns for track meetings, props for drama, presentations for mountain men assemblies. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board grant permission to allow weapons replicas on school property for Veterans Day activities, starter guns for track meets, props for drama presentations, and mountain man assemblies in the event these activities are allowed to take place as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passed. That concludes this meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That concludes this meeting. Thank you.